Okay, what I was saying was that I saw the doctor here at 1 o'clock and we went over my physical health history. And that a lot of my history is not medical, it's natural health stuff. So let's get back to that. At 1 o'clock, I saw the doctor, and first he asked me, he said, I have, all this, I sent stacks and stacks of paper. No one will ever be able to accuse me in any area of life of not being thorough. So he had lots of paperwork and he had looked it over, but he wanted me to just talk about where I am. So I told him, especially he wanted to know, the first thing he asked was, if, I forget how he asked it, but it was essentially, what do you want to get out of this? What do you want to see happen in your body? And my main issues are pain and muscle tension, constant pain and muscle tension, head to toe. It has to go. I can't live like this. And insomnia issues. I got to be able to sleep. I have got to be able to sleep. So tired. And that became really obvious today in many different ways of how tired I am. Just physically and mentally. Actually, I shouldn't say mentally, because I think that my brain is physically exhausted from what's happening in my body. And what I mean by that is, it's not that my thoughts are exhausting. It's that, your brain controls your body, and there's so much going wrong and so much going on that my brain is so taxed from all of that has nothing to do with the thoughts, I think. Of course, there are ways that my thoughts are exhausting also, but that's a different issue. So anyway, those are the two main things, and then I had made a whole list because, again, no one will ever be able to accuse me of not being thorough. I had a list typed up of everything. I kept track for about 2 or 3 weeks of the things that I want addressed and want to see healed for ideal health. And so we went through that, and then he explained my CRT results. And again, it was really impressive, and I guess there isn't really any way for me to describe that, because I will get a copy of all of this stuff at the end, but I don't have one right now, and I guess it wouldn't necessarily be necessary for me to tell you about that anyway. But it was impressive what they could tell just from the different temperature readings and the differences in the temperature readings, the first set and the second set. Most things were not surprising. There were a couple surprising things. I'm just going to tell you essentially the main findings. He found that, the test found, looking at the test, makes it appear as though there are issues. First one we talked about was the head, and this was a little surprising to learn that it looks like there's actually some problems with the bones in my head, and that some of my issues have to do with just the bones possibly not moving at all the way they're supposed to move. I do have constant headaches and have had that, I've had head problems since I was a teenager. But I thought it was related to just the muscle tension stuff. I didn't know what he explained to me about the problems with the bones. And also in regards to the head and brain fog, which I have addressed. I've addressed in talking about how my mind is so tired just from this, this journey. Also, though, there seemed to be some, possibly chemical problems or maybe microbial issues causing the amount of brain fog that I have. And I've always been pretty mentally sharp. And I would say that even through this, I'm still pretty mentally sharp for what I've gone through, but I am not at all as sharp as I know I can be and as I have been in the past. And I know I'm not old, but I'm older than I'm older now than I've ever been. But I'm not just losing memory function or anything like that. There are some problems. And he talked about some of the things that look like they're going wrong have caused the two sides of my brain to not work together the way they're supposed to. So part of what we're going to be doing is get the bones working and get the two sides of my brain working together again. That and then toxicity is, he didn't say this, but I've read stuff about this, that the toxicity could also be causing a lot of the mental fatigue and fogginess and lack of sharpness. So that stuff was not necessarily surprising, but there was info that I didn't know about. This one surprised me. There seems to be something wrong with my heart, which has, never even entered into the discussion of my health, other than that things with my heart always appear to be really healthy. That's something I talked to him about, though, is that medical tests always show that I'm really healthy. My cholesterol is always really low. My blood pressure is always really good. Blood sugars are always good. And yet I feel awful. And that's, again, been more of the problems I've had with the medical community is that I always check out as being super healthy according to the labs, but there are definite problems. So anyway, yeah, and he said, when he said that, I was like, wow, there's something wrong with my heart. And he said, don't be alarmed. It's not, because heart tissue regenerates. I forget the word that he used. I don't know if he said there's some kind of heart trauma or what it is. I forget the word. But he said, don't be alarmed. Heart tissue will regenerate, and, we're going to address it. But then we were looking at the tests, and so he explained a lot of things to me that I'm not going to be able to explain on here. But he said that looking at the results that I have, they were typical of people who are empathetic, I think he said. I'm very tired, so I can't come up with all the words I want to use. But, people who take on other people's pain, people who really care about other people and who don't just listen to their problems, don't just feel for them, but actually take on their pain. So he said, first of all, you have to stop doing that, which we laughed about because obviously I know that. And obviously it's something I've been working on for a long time, but here we are, and it's still a problem. So so there's that, but that we're going to address whatever the physical issues are. He also talked about, we talked about trauma early on in life, particularly early trauma, affecting things like this, and especially the heart, and especially I forget. We talked about it in regards to something else specific, but certainly I have traumas. I'm not going to discuss those here, just it's not the time or place. But that is going to be another area that we will work on, is emotional traumas and things like that. And get the heart working better. Pancreas, kidney, thyroid, possibly pituitary too. I don't think the test can check the pituitary, but they'll work the part of my thyroid. It just showed that my thyroid is basically not doing much of anything. And so they'll address that, and there's a possibility that in addressing that, they'll actually find that it's not the thyroid, it's the pituitary. So that'll just be a learning discovery as we go. None of those things really were particularly surprising. Kidney could vary. There were specific things he showed me about the kidney that actually could be seriously contributing to my inability to sleep well. And he specifically talked about, because I have a hard time falling asleep and I have a hard time staying asleep. I know he said specifically the kidney could be affecting the staying asleep. I don't know if it would affect the actual falling asleep. I'm going to pause and go to part 5.